welcome you to another Degrassi's What Ifs. And the next three Degrassi What If episodes will all be pertaining moments about the Rick Murray storyline from season 4. A bit of a Cliff's Notes on the Rick Murray situation if you have not seen it. And I think you should know much about it if you watch my videos and all that stuff. But, some people forget to. So anyway, in season 3, Terri falls in love with a guy named Rick. But Rick is psychologically and physically abusive to her. She breaks off with him, but then basically when she hears about being invited to a thing in a van, with Jimmy and Hazel and Paige and Spinner, she needs to find somebody she loves. And she ends up getting Rick. And of course everyone is upset over how Rick treated Terri. Unfortunately, Rick dashes off angrily at Paige. And then all of a sudden Terri decides to try to cheer her up, but Rick basically has a thing against Paige and Hazel. Basically, they think that they're poisoning poor Terri. So basically, he tells Terri she is not to, be on their side. But unfortunately, he pushes her head into a rock and she collapses with blood and all that. Rick has blood on his hands. He sees Paige and Spinner run, and then basically he runs off. How he manages to get home, I don't know. But anyway, Spinner and Paige call 911 on Terri and all that. The whole school is mad at Rick at how it happened. But basically what ends up happening is that Rick is sitting in his mom's car. Spinner wants to go after him for leaving Terri high and dry in the hospital and all that. Rick's mom defends him and basically sends him off. We soon learn that it seems like he got expelled for his actions, but in reality, Rick's mom pulled him out of school because of retribution. So anyway, that was the last we see of Rick for now. And then season 4 pops up, and basically he's allowed to come back to school and all that. Despite not seeing it, there was a deleted scene that Raditch explained that without criminal charges pressed, he's allowed to come back to the school. So basically, obviously, his hands were tied in a sense. However, Rick gets beaten up a lot. Emma decides to join Paige's clique to try to destroy Rick and get him out of Degrassi once and for all. Sadly, though, Emma's Orange Ribbon campaign for domestic violence turns into a beating for domestic violence, and basically Emma decides to stop it, despite the fact that it's cost her Paige's clique. So basically, Rick is appreciative to Emma, more so than we all thought. So basically, Rick, Emma, and Toby are all on the Wacky Brain team, like a quiz bowl team. Now, Jimmy comes in for Heather St. Clair when Heather gets mono. Thank goodness for that. But anyway, the worst part is that basically, even though the bullying has subsided, Jimmy, Spinner, Alex, and Jay basically are beating them limb from limb. So basically, they're continuing the major bullying and all that. Rick retaliates with an X on the Tormentor's cars after being pushed one too many times. They basically wanted to destroy Rick once and for all for taking them. Of course, they know that they can't tell on Rick because then they're going to have to confess their own crimes. So basically, Rick and them are happy. And then Jimmy joins the team. Rick's not too happy about Jimmy on the team. He tries to get Raj to agree, but Raj basically thinks that Rick just wants to force Jimmy to be his friend, and basically he doesn't like that way. So he basically brushes Rick off. Jimmy finally comes around after Rick tells him that he's being tormented, and now Toby, as Rick's only true friend, will be next. So Jimmy stands up to Rick stands up for Rick in front of Alex, Spinner, and Jay. And then Rick throws the hands up. So basically, they come up with a prank to get rid of him. Basically, Rick is not too nonchalant. Basically, Spinner and Jay basically make Rick realize that the prank isn't going to come to him, and basically, he's blissfully ignorant. And of course, the painted feathers fall down. Rick takes a gun to the school. He wants to go after Paige, thinking that Paige was behind this whole thing because of the anti-Rick rhetoric. However, Paige realizes everything is wrong. So thankfully Rick doesn't shoot her. Rick doesn't show the gun to her. So Rick puts the gun in his locker, goes to clean himself up. Spinner and Jay basically realize something. Spinner tells Jay that Raj might know because Spinner actually had confessed everything to Jimmy, and Jimmy probably will probably tell on him. Also, the fact of the matter is that in another deleted scene, Spinner is caught making fun of Rick, and Raj is basically not too pleased with that. So that maybe that's why it says Raj knows. So basically, Jay, to get the heat off Spinner, decides to blame Jimmy for everything. Rick then decides to take the gun to the school out of his locker and shoot Jimmy. He does. He finds Emma, Sean, and Toby. Despite Sean and Toby's pleas, Rick wants to destroy Emma for spurning his advances. But thankfully, the gun goes off and Rick dies, in a sense. Of course, there are a lot of questions and all that. Why did Rick do what he did? Who failed him and all that? Basically, there's a lot of issues and all that. There were a lot of resolutions in this, the character development and all that. Sean basically, in the next episode, we see him. He thinks he's a hero, but he had PTSD mostly because he accidentally pulled the trigger and shot and killed Rick, and figured that he killed Rick and he was going to get in trouble for that. But I think the police would basically have not done anything because they probably would have said something about Sean being caught at Wasaga Beach, and basically the police want to question him on his motives and all that. Of course, so Sean wouldn't come back till season 6. I don't know why Sean came back. Basically, Jimmy's support group and all that wants him to do better. Jimmy wants to be better and out of this wheelchair and all that. Emma, of course, goes through the zombie Emma phase that basically she's not herself. Everyone thinks that she'll bounce back, but she's not bouncing back because of the guilt dealing with the Rick situation before he got shot and all that. And basically, she wants sexual favors with Jay. She said that she's not herself, and she doesn't want to be her old self, the old predictable self. Well, the writers changed her for kind of the worse, if you will. Toby, of course, has this conflict with, should I consider Rick a friend or not? JT and Danny don't give him any help and all that, but thankfully Manny steps in and blasts JT, and JT helps Toby get through it. Raj, unfortunately, got blamed for a lot of the stuff. He could have stopped it and all that. Basically, bottom line was that he was tossed aside. He was moved to another school for some, I don't know what. He wasn't completely fired, although for me it's like if this happened in 2020 instead of 2004, I think that basically it might have been a cover-up by the school board. Maybe they were covering their own tracks and all that. So Raj is gone for good. Snake does take responsibility for his actions, but this helps Snake get to be a better educator in a sense. And Hatzalakos is now the principal. Who else gets affected by this? Especially, well, Spinner, obviously, because Spinner does not tell Jimmy what actually happened for fear of retribution. But anyway, Spinner decides to cheer Jimmy up by telling Jimmy, after Jimmy puts himself down, that basically that they told Rick that Spinner and Jay were trying to get the heat off themselves, and then basically Jimmy got shot. Spinner does confess to Hatzalakos, gets himself and Jay expelled. Alex avoids any punishment, although Alex could have just, confessed herself, but basically Spinner and Jay both didn't want to put Alex through the ringer and all that. And yeah, there were a lot of massive storyline. Even Craig, he might have had bipolar issues because he saw Jimmy's body somehow. So anyway, that's a quick recap. So basically, yeah. So I'm not going to go too much into detail for the other ones. All right. So the first what if is basically, well, the first two what ifs is about Terri and Rick. So basically, Rick and Terri have that thing in Don't Dream It's Over. That's the season 3 episode 17 episode that saw Terri go down on a rock. Basically, the episode has Terri upset that she's invited to a road trip, but she doesn't have anyone to go with, as Jimmy has Hazel and Paige has Spinner. But basically, in a trust exercise, she falls in love with Rick and all that, even though that Rick didn't want to really do the trust exercise. Anyway, Terri basically tells Rick that, we're going on this road trip and all that, but everyone is upset with Terri. Why would she still be with this guy? Why did she forgive him and all that? And basically, they're going to keep their eyes on Terri. Sadly, though, Rick makes a bad point to be on top of Paige's fan and all that, and basically get himself in trouble. He basically lashes out at Paige, says that leave Terri alone, she can make her own decisions for herself. And then he storms off, and basically Terri tells Paige off and then runs after Rick. Rick is upset, thinking that Terri is basically protecting Paige and all them. But Terri says that's completely wrong and basically tries to calm Rick down. Rick blows some steam and doesn't want Terri being back with the group. Unfortunately, he smashes Terry's head on a rock and there's blood and all that. Rick, of course, looks at the blood and can't believe what he just did. All that. So basically, Rick basically runs off when he sees Paige and Spinner come close to him. How Rick got home, we don't know. But anyway. So as I said in the prologue, I said that basically Rick had been taken out of school by his mom. I don't know if Rick told the whole story to his mom or basically enough that he didn't have to incriminate himself. But basically, Spinner wanted Rick hurt for what he did to Terri. Paige and Spinner basically both blamed each other for the fact that they let Terri walk out after looking for Rick, because basically if they had kept Terri back, then Terri would have been alive. They did my girl Christina Schmidt dirty. Very dirty. So anyway, I told myself. So basically, the first two what ifs is basically about this. The first one, as I said, is what if Terri died thanks to Rick? Now, the question on my mind is, would the writers have written something about Rick? Rick's Rick's trial and all that? That's a good question. I think they would. Basically, in my headcanon, I would say that basically Rick knew he was in trouble. Everyone would point fingers at Rick, and basically they would try to find Rick and convict him of murder, but not on purpose, probably by accidental murder. Or, aggravated assault. To me, I think Rick basically would have ended up getting lucky, in a sense. And I think Rick would, maybe, it was murder, but he didn't plan to murder her. He just wanted some clarity and all that. But anyway, Terri would have died. It would have really brought things to a head. And of course, we would not see I don't know what season 4 would have been about. Because as I said in one other what if, I said Rick's storyline actually helped some characters get some character development. Even Emma. That Emma basically had been phased out from cause girl to boy crazy girl who just wanted to fit in. And then there was stuff like that. Anyway, so for me, it's got to be that, Rick would have went to trial. He would have been found guilty. His lawyer would have done everything in his power to make sure that he got a lower degree of a crime. And maybe he'd be out in about 5-10 years. Who knows? So anyway, that's one. See, number two, as I said, about the Don't Dream Is Over. But what if Terri was around for season 4? What if she was actually still seen, not mentioned, but seen in season 4? That's a good question. People on the Degrassi Reddit said that, Terri might have probably think that the violence against Rick would be bad. She probably would have felt guilty that they're beating up Rick just to get even with Rick and help her to get even with Rick. But, Terri's calm demeanor and nice stuff would basically caused some friction, if you will. Now, of course, Terri being around for season 4, meaning like Terri being, or like at Degrassi in season 4, or Terri in season 4 as a general. Well, Terri was unseen in season 4 and all that. I mean, they could have just, said, well, what would Terri have thought? And maybe Terri would have probably clued in and basically sent a message saying that, Rick shouldn't be punished enough and all that. It's kind of puzzling. But the fact of the matter is, with me, I think that if Terri was around for season 4, she would basically not have been at Degrassi or all that. I think for Terri, she probably would not have wanted Rick at Degrassi and all that. If she was around in season 4, then she would have went to Raj, and Raj would have had to tell Rick to buzz off because, his victim, that being Terri, is at the same school. So basically, Rick would have had to transfer schools or be homeschooled and all that. And I think that's what should have happened. And then basically, Terri does the right thing by getting Rick around, and basically they would watch their backs to see if Rick contacts Terri outside school and all that. But of course, people said, "Oh, Terri won't like the violence and all that." Fair enough. I mean, I know she wanted retribution, but like people to say, "Hey, what?" I mean, Terri would be happy that someone would actually stand up for her, but she would also have said, "Well, I don't really think that this cause is worth it and all that." So basically, I think in a sense, Terri would have probably not liked it. All the special attention paid to her. She was that type of person. And third and finally is Rick being better first and all that. Now, of course, flash forward to basically the fact that in Time Stands Still Part 1, Rick's still getting bullied, he's still getting tormented. And basically, we don't hear about Rick coming back for retribution on his victims. Now, I always thought it was Jay and Spinner who did this, but it was Spinner and Jimmy who basically put him into the dumpster. Now, it's unclear if Rick had actually found spray cans in the garbage, in the dumpster, or he bought spray cans. But it's assumed that maybe the next day he spray painted everyone's cars. Or he might have did it just before class. But I think that his clothes had changed and all that. Like, I should have done my research, but yeah, I think he was in different clothes on that day. So I'm just gonna take a gander of it, because I know that something just doesn't seem right. Like yeah. So because I always wanted to know. I always wanted to know if Rick had changed clothes and all that, because I didn't know. Hang on one second here, because I think it's part 1 or part 2. Okay, so I'll just make sure. I'm just going to look at my stuff I've done. And you might hear a few seconds of the theme song. There we go. All right, so I got to see. So I got to see here. Nope. Okay, so when he gets dumped in the dumpster, he has a check shirt and he has a white t-shirt. Nope. I thought so. Okay, sorry about that. I looked at the, yeah, he had a check shirt. He had like a checkered shirt and a white undershirt. But when he spray paints everyone's cars, he's wearing a grayish shirt without the checkerboard pattern. So yeah, so it was the next day. So he obviously either bought the spray cans or basically found the spray cans in the dumpster. Well, at least I knew that for sure. It was the day after. I had a hunch it was the day after, but I needed to check. I'm sorry, but that's the way I am. So basically, yeah, Rick gets bullied and then he starts retaliating. Now his retaliation was based on one thing. He was probably going to get Spitter, Jay, Alex, and Jimmy to basically realize that, you know what, you can only push me so hard. Or in other words, basically, it's like, how would you like it if the shoe was on the other foot? So basically, unfortunately, his plans that they would probably back down failed miserably. Alex and them decided to try to destroy Rick and once and for all, and especially with Jimmy switching sides, that they probably targeted Rick, but they also could have targeted Jimmy for his descendants, if you will, dissidents. Excuse me. So anyway, now what we know from Rick is that basically Toby knows about the bullying, Emma knows about the bullying, Jimmy knows about the bullying, but Rick doesn't come out clear to Raditch or his parents. Basically, Raditch tells him the shoe. His parents basically are like, we want you to go to school. I hope everything's okay. I'm glad everything's okay. But Rick, of course, didn't tell anyone. The big what if is, what if Rick was better first at telling people what was wrong with him? Or, in a sense, what if Jimmy, Toby, and or Emma, or like any combination of those three, actually was trying to get to the teachers and all that about Rick being bullied. Now, it was unclear if Jimmy, Toby, and Emma basically would have had told the teachers about it. I mean, Emma would have been the best opportunity because Emma had Snake as a stepdad and a teacher. So basically, it's like, why didn't Emma just tell Snake about Rick's problems and all that? Rick being bullied and all that. Because, she would have told Rick room. And Rick didn't have to be so macho and all that. Emma could have solved Rick's problems. But then again, Rick would have definitely also have had his affections for Emma, which we all know happened. But here's the thing about Rick, is that at times he basically comes off as being weird. He counts things on his fingers. He can't say things correctly and all that. Fans have realized that. And, basically, it's going to be that, things happen for a reason. But obviously, Rick could have controlled his own destiny by telling his parents the truth. He could have told Raditch the truth. He could have and all that. Now, yeah, he could have told his parents everything, and the parents probably would definitely have snapped into action and basically forced the students to be nice to him or basically not bully him. With the Raditch thing, it's kind of awkward in a sense. Because, Rick had a golden chance to tell Raditch everything. And he would have got his answers because Raditch was an ally to Rick. That's what people forget. But unfortunately, how he said it, and he didn't say the magic words, bullying me. He's bothering me. He won't be my friend. That's not meaning he's bullying you. That just basically means that it could be some vindictiveness or something like that. And Raditch basically figures that Rick had said some stuff and basically wants to force Jimmy and Rick to be friends. Nope, can't do that. For how bad Raditch seemed to be in the situation, Rick could have been better off. Basically, if Rick had basically said the magic words bullying, we would never have had the situation that, Rick would have won. Maybe he would have been beaten to a pulp outside the school. Everyone would have just basically went after him. But of course, the question remains is like, how come they didn't really injure Rick outside the school in the first place before time stands still? Because I guess they probably would have figured that if they did that damage, basically they would have lost and Rick would have won. And you don't want Rick to win. So Rick obviously was his own worst enemy. I mean, yeah, he brought the gun to the school, but he could have stopped the whole torment by being honest with people. And, he could have done something about it. Blame Raditch all you want, but I think Rick destroyed himself more so than you think he does. And Raditch should get a little bit of a break. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have yourself a good day.